गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, शरणं 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 गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, पार्वती नंदन श्री गणेश, शरणं गणेश, शरणं गणेश, शरणं गणेश, शरणं गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश, गौरी गणेश उमा गणेश।
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे,
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 नारायण नारायण जय गोपाल 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 हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद 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 हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोपाल 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 हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोपाल हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोपाल हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोपाल 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 हरे,
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे। त्रिपुरारी शिवशङ्करा,
त्रिपुरारी शिवशङ्करा,
त्रिपुरारी शिवशङ्करा,
त्रिपुरारी शिवशङ्करा,
नन्दिवाहना नागा शिव शङ्करा
त्रिपुरारी शिव शङ्करा
ओङ्कारेश्वर नमः शिवाय
ओङ्कारेश्वर नमः शिवाय
महाकालेश्वर नमः शिवाय
महाकालेश्वर नमः शिवाय
महाकालेश्वर नमः शिवाय
महाकालेश्वर नमः शिवाय
त्रिपुरारी शिव शङ्करा अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन राम
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 पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन 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 राम
अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन 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 राम
पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन 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 राम
अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन राम
अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन राम
पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन राम
पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन राम
अयोध्यवासी राम राम दशरथ नंदन राम
अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन राम
पतित पावन जानकी जीवन सीता मोहन 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 राम
अयोध्यवासी राम 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 दशरथ नंदन राम
Sai Ram. My loving and humble pranams at the divine Charan Kamal of our beloved Satguru, Shri Sathya Sai Baba.
भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
Om Shri Sai Ram. My loving and humble pranams at the Divya Charana Kamal of our beloved Guru, Shri Sathya Sai Baba. And a very, very loving Sai Ram to the virtual audience that joins us this very moment from different parts of the world. I am Nidhi Nautiyal, currently serving as the National Education Coordinator of Sai Organization of New Zealand. And on behalf of the facilitators of the Education Wing, it is my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you all tonight to commemorate the life journey of Mother Easwaramma, mother of our beloved Baba. With grace of Swami, we hope to share an inspiring time with you tonight from this beautiful little country in the Pacific called Aotearoa or New Zealand, and spiritually, hopefully, enrich one another. So kia ora and welcome once again. But first and foremost, I would like to share with you our entire SSC team, the Bala Vikas Gurus, who in real sense make the magic happen with me. Without their presence, it would be simply impossible to operate the Education Wing. I thank each one of them for their valuable support. Thank you once again, dear co-facilitators, and hopefully you all enjoyed that introduction. Each year here in New Zealand, we celebrate Easwaramma Day, befittingly as Mother's Day. Discoursing on the chosen mother and the greater glory of all virtuous mothers, Bhagavan once sung in Telugu, before continuing to explain who Mother Easwaramma was. He said, embodiments of love. Rama's divinity blossomed under Kaushalya's loving care. Love and Kush could become powerful and famous due to the noble and virtuous Mother Sita. The love and care of Jijabai made Shivaji a great warrior. Fostered with the love of his mother, Putlibai, Gandhi became a Mahatma. Is there anyone in this world who can take care of you the way your mother does? Amma, mother, is the first word that a man picks up in life. The first letter of the word Amma also happens to be the first letter of the alphabet. For all the beings in the world, there is nobody greater than Mother, who gives them birth and brings them up with love and care. Let us hear a little bit more about the glory of Mother Easwaramma from Surya Reddy, a bright young girl from Group 3 SSC.
Saira, my name is Surya Reddy and I am in Group 3. The celebration of the life of Mother Easwaramma, the mother of Sathya Sai Baba, is celebrated on the 6th of May. It's the day that her soul left her body and merged with Swami. A mother is a child's first teacher, and Mother Easwaramma is the example of an ideal mother. On May 6th, Easwaramma's life is celebrated around the world by remembering her exemplary life, performing acts of service for the needy, and singing the glories of God. As a mother, her love for all was pure, selfless, and unconditional. She was christened as Namagiri Amma at the time of her birth. After her marriage, Kondama Raju, Swami's grandfather, being one of wisdom and blessed with the vision of a future, began calling her Easwaramma, because he knew that she was going to become the mother of Ishwara. Swami says that today people desire that only their family and children should be happy, but Easwaramma wasn't like that. Easwaramma wanted everyone to be happy. Even though she wasn't educated, she taught good qualities to everyone. She had 3 wishes from Swami before she died, all of which she fulfilled. To build a hospital for the village, because women often had to walk long distances. To build a school in the village, so that children wouldn't have to walk long distances. To provide safe drinking water for the village, so that the water didn't have to be collected in containers. The small wishes of the mother paved the way for gigantic humanitarian projects all over the world. I'd like to finish with a short message from Swami in his Easwaramma Day speech in 2016. To all the mothers who are here, if you think that your children belong to you, it is a mistake. You have to love everybody thinking that every child is yours. All this temporary wealth, treasure, youth, and everything is temporary. If you look at the reason why we adore Easwaramma, it is because of her sacrifice. She attained immortality because of her sense of sacrifice. All parents should develop a selfless feeling and tell their children to serve society. On this Easwaramma Day, parents should try and develop broad-mindedness, selflessness, and devotion, and see that their children are molded in the right way by their teachers. Om Sai Ram.
Thank you, Surya, for sharing such wonderful words on Mother Easwaramma. It is so vital for us to acknowledge, understand, and celebrate the divine feminine principle that nourishes and sustains us. This feminine energy or Shakti resides in each one of us as the complementary half of the divine masculine energy, Shiva. Our beloved Guru himself held and exuded the combined energy principle as Shri Sathya Sai, avatar of Ardhanarishwar. Swami says there are 5 types of mothers. Deh Mata, birth mother. Desh Mata, one's motherland. Bhumata, mother earth. Gau Mata, mother cow. And Ved Mata are holy scriptures as the giver of knowledge. A Sanskrit shloka in Ramayana declares, Janani Janabhumishcha Swargatapi Gariyasi. Mother and motherland are superior to heaven. In Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 3, Chapter 17, Swami says, Prakriti, Mother Nature, is just a Leela or a creation of the Lord set before you, so that you may become aware of His glory, His splendor. Lord Krishna in chapter 10, verse 28 of Shri Bhagavad Gita in part states, Dhenu Nam Asmi Kamadukha. Among cows, I am Kamadenu, the wish-fulfilling cow. Goddess Gayatri, glorified in the Gayatri mantra of the Rig Veda, is also known as the Veda Mata. I now present to you some of our Bala Vikas children who will share a little about each of these motherly forms with us.
My name is Arna and I'm from Group 1 SSC. Today, I would like to share a few thoughts on Dev Mata, one of the 5 forms of mothers that Swami speaks about. Dev means body, Mata means mother. Mother who gives us birth holds a very special place in our lives. Our scriptures have laid down Mata Devo Bhava, Mother is God, by giving the first place to mother. Swami has said, win the love of your mother to win the love of God. The strength of mother's love and blessings is unparalleled. A mother nourishes the child, helps to develop noble thoughts, and leads the child on the path of dharma. When there is a mother with noble qualities, there will surely be peace and prosperity around. The Supreme Shakti manifests herself in the form of Durga, Lakshmi and Saraswati and grants to us physical, mental and spiritual energy. One's own mother is a combination of all these divine beings. She provides all kinds of energy, wealth and intelligence. She constantly strives for our well-being in life. One should therefore revere and respect our mother. All our epics and sacred books emphasize the power of mother's love and her blessings. It was Mother Kunti's love for her sons that brought the Pandavas near and dear to Krishna and made their lives worthy by serving him. It was the love of Mother Kausalya that turned Rama into a glorious king and a virtuous ruler who ruled at the hearts of his people. It was Ma Yashoda, the foster mom of Krishna, who tied up him when he was naughty and taught him right from wrong. It was the kind heart of Mother Easwaramma, who made Swami promise that he will serve the mankind by looking after the basic needs of water in every house, free health services and education to all. And coming back to my mother, she is very sweet and loving. She cheers me up and helps me get my smile back when hurt. We go to the park, watch movies and play fun games together. She helps me when I am stuck in maths. She teaches me a lot of good things. Thank you, Mom, and to all mothers for looking after us always. Lastly, I pray that we learn and practice our life lessons from our mothers and grow up to be Swami's Bangaram. My heartfelt gratitude to Saima, who gives us the love of 1,000 mothers, for being ever so loving and for showering your grace on us. Sai Mata Pita दीनबंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में साई मेरा कोटि प्रणाम। साई माता पिता दीनबंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में साई मेरा कोटि प्रणाम। Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. My name is Zara and I'm from Group 3. Today, on this occasion of Easwaramma Day, I'd like to share some thoughts on the motherland, as it is one of the 5 forms of mothers that Swami speaks about. Desh Mata, or motherland, to me, means one's native country. We always have ancestral linkage to our Desh Mata, even if we're not born in the country of ancestral origin. Me and my motherland are both Malaysia and India. Malaysia was where I was born, and India is where my rich culture is from. I now live in New Zealand, so it is my adopted country, or as Swami says, my Karambhumi. I feel more closer to India as I practice and follow a vast array of religious rituals, festivals that are celebrated there, and many of my relatives reside there. India is part of my heritage. It's absolutely crucial for us to be proud of our birth country and its origins, because it defines us in a lot of ways.
In ancient scripture in Ramayana says, Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargadapi Garyase.
That means mother and motherland are superior to heaven. Swami has emphasized that one should love and serve the country. His teachings include respecting all religions, keeping the surroundings clean, being honest, adoring God, loving humanity, and helping humanity. Swami says, have a sense of pride in your motherland. Just as your mother has given birth to you, so too the land has given birth to you. In other words, we need to have pride and love for our motherland, just like we are proud and love our mothers. How do I follow these teachings of Swami? I sincerely follow most of the things that Swami says, which has enabled me to love and respect my motherland, even though I hardly live there. It also enables me to be a good person who respects her motherland. I follow customs and traditions, love my traditional food, ethnic clothes, and celebrate festivals no matter where I live. I proudly show off my heritage at any opportunity possible. In my Karambhumi, I show similar respects by picking up litter around me, reducing, reusing and recycling, using limited amounts of water, having litter-free lunches, never wasting food, using cloth bags instead of plastic ones, turning off all the switches, and taking care of my garden. I'd like to improve on making sure to turn off all the lights when I'm not using them. We should develop a sense of pride for our motherland no matter where we live in this world. A love that is aware of its virtues and issues equally. Like Swami Vivekananda said in the context of India, our sacred motherland is the land of religion and philosophy, the birthplace of spiritual giants, the land of renunciation, wherein we're alone, from the most ancient to the most modern times. There has been the highest ideal of life open to man. Each nation has a theme. Everything else is secondary. India's theme is religion, social reform, and everything else is secondary. We strive to serve our motherland just like President of America, John F. Kennedy. In his inaugural speech, he said, "Ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country." I love my motherland and want to keep it a place which I will always be proud of. I'd like to serve my motherland, and I think that everybody should. I'd like to pay my respects and gratitude to all mothers, carers who selflessly look after us, nourish us, and help us become better people. Thank you.
Sai Ram. My name is Ananya and I am from SSC Group 3. Today, on the occasion of Easwaramma Day, I would like to share with you some thoughts on Bhumata as one of the 5 forms of mothers that Swami talks about. Bhumata is made up of 2 words. Bhu means earth and Mata means mother. Earth nurtures us like a mother does, providing food, water, air and minerals, and so much more. She is the biggest giver of all. In Hinduism, Earth is sacred and considered as the mother of all living beings. Bhudevi is also called Prithvi, the vast one, Vasundhara, the possessor of wealth, or Vasudha, the giver of wealth. Hindus revere the earth as a symbol of tolerance, forbearance, patience, and steadfastness. Samudravasane Devi Parvatastana Mandate Vishnupatni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvame. O Mother Earth, you have the ocean as your garments and mountains as your bosom. O consort of Lord Vishnu, salutations to you. Please forgive the touch of my feet on you. This divine mantra is dedicated to the Divine Mother of Earth, who nurtures all beings. It praises Bhudevi, and by chanting the mantra, both the chanter and the listener seek forgiveness for themselves and for all the pain that they have caused to Mother Earth or Bhumata in the past. Swami says that nature is to be respected. In his words, man should treat nature with reverence. He has no right to talk of conquering nature or exploiting its force. He must proceed to visualize nature as God. When you see a mountain, waterfall, or forest, you feel happy. Light shines, the stars twinkle, the sun blazes, and the planets revolve in their orbits. All these phenomena are manifestations of the divine. Unfortunately, we humans have almost exhausted Mother Earth's natural resources. We have thrown nature out of balance. Some parts of Earth are experiencing global warming, with melting glaciers and rising sea levels, and other areas have a complete shortage of water. Mother Earth has so much to give us, but we take advantage of it and take more than what we need. All natural disasters like tsunamis, forest fires, earthquakes, and droughts are a way of Mother Earth telling us that she is in discomfort and the balance of nature is being disturbed. Swami says the microcosm is reflected in the macrocosm, and vice versa. If we want to restore the balance of our inner Prakriti and restore harmony, then we must examine what we are doing to nature outside. As a way to pay my gratitude and respect to Mother Earth, I consciously vow to not pollute the earth, practice sealing on desires, and take only as much as I need from it. And if possible, give back by planting trees and looking after the environment. We should all be grateful to this beautiful earth we live on and cherish its abundance in measured ways. Mother Earth gives lovingly and freely all her resources so that we may live comfortably. There is no greater example of selfless love than nature. Swami also says, Prakriti is just a leela of the Lord set before you, so that you may become aware of His glory, His splendor. Let us show our gratitude to Bhumata in everyday living. I pay my respects to Mother Easwaramma and wish all mothers a very happy Mother's Day. Sairam.
Sarah, my name is Sai Pavni and I'm from SSC Group 2. Today, on the occasion of Eswaramma Day, we are looking at various forms of a mother. I am here to share with you my understanding on Mother Cow. The whole of creation, which has emerged from God, reflects the nature of God. Wherever you look at creation, you can recognize the selfless nature of God. The rivers flow in order to help others. Trees yield fruit in order to help others. Cows yield milk to help others. Therefore, the body is given to us to help others. The ideal of cows is the highest among all animals. Scriptures say that there are 32 cruel gods residing in the body of a cow. According to Swami, cows have the highest ideal of selflessness among all animals. There are plenty of reasons why, but here are a few. Cows eat simple food like grass and give nourishing milk for everyone to consume. This selfless service done by cows makes our minds strong and our bodies healthy. Whatever the cow gives back to us in return is very selfless and pure. Even the waste generated by cows has medicinal values. When one mixes a bit of cowpear and turmeric, it turns out to be an ointment capable of healing any kind of wound. Our ancestors would take cowpear and mix it with water and sprinkle this in front of their house. This mixture acts as a repellent, because of which poisonous insects would not enter the houses. Even cow urine has medicinal properties. When sacrifices were being performed, before taking the pledge of initiating the sacrifice, cow urine was partaken ceremonially. Cow transforms grass into sweet, strength-giving milk and gives it away in a plenty to its master. Develop that quality, that power to transform the food you consume into sweet thoughts, words, deeds of sympathy for all. Just as a mother gives us milk in childhood, and when we grow up, she stomachs food, she always quietly suffers but selflessly loves her children dearly without any expectations in return. In scriptures, that is why Indians gave this compassionate Gau Mata as mother. This is why the cow is revered and worshipped in the ancient Indian culture. Now, I would like to share a short shloka with you. Poshyanti payodatva yathavatsan tatha janan nityam samane apritya dhenavo mataro nidam. The meaning of the shloka is, cows feed her calves milk daily with much love. Similarly, cows feed her milk to humans with love. Therefore, the cow is revered as mother of humans. At last, on this Mother's Day, I would like to pay my gratitude and respect to Gau Mata by acknowledging that selfless service is one way we can serve human beings. Thank you and Sairam.
Sairam, my name is Vedansh and I'm from the Papatoy Sai Center. I'm in Group 2 in SSE. Today on the occasion of Easwaramma Day, I would like to share with you some thoughts on Ved Mata, as one of the 5 forms of mothers that Swami speaks about. Ved means supreme knowledge. Ved Mata is the mother of the Vedas, Rig Ved, Samaved, Yajur Ved and Atharva Ved. Rig Ved means collection of Vedic Sanskrit hymns. Samaved represents the force of spiritual knowledge, power of devotion. Yajur Ved contains prayers, mantras and worship rituals. Atharva Ved is a source of information of Vedic culture, customs and beliefs. Hinduism came from the 4 Vedas. Ved Mata is also known as Savitri and Gayatri. Gayatri Mata is also known as Saraswati Mata. It is believed that Goddess Gayatri is a manifestation of all the phenomenal attributes of Brahman. She is also revered as the goddess of Hindu Trimurti, the mother of all gods, incarnation of Goddess Saraswati, Goddess Parvati and Goddess Lakshmi. The festival of Ved Mata is called Gayatri Jayanti. It is celebrated on the 2nd of June. Baba says the Gayatri mantra has in it the validity of the Vedas. It contains the essence of Vedic teachings. Gayatri is all gods in one. Om Bhur Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Means we meditate on the glory of the Creator, who has created this universe, who is worthy of worship, who is the embodiment of knowledge and light, who is the remover of all sin and ignorance. I would like to pay my respect in gratitude to all the mothers.
Thank you, dear children, for that beautiful sharing. So much to learn from you about each of these aspects of the Divine Mother. And now for the most anticipated part of the program. We have with us our guest speaker for the evening, Shri Prem Anosh, who joins us live from Prashanti Nilayam. Shri Prem Anosh's calm composure and soothing voice, delivering Bhagwan's messages full of conviction and narrating Swami's interactions with the devotees and the students is ever so familiar to many of us. He joined Bhagwan's University in the year 1999 at the Brindavan campus for a bachelor's degree in chemistry. Following that, he moved to the Prashanthi Nilayam campus for post-graduation in the same subject, which he completed in 2004. Since his graduation, he has been in Prashanthi. He joined Radio Sai as part of the Sri Sathya Sai Media Center's content team in July 2011, from where he hosts live shows on Radio Sai till date. You must have also heard him on Sri Sathya Sai Official, the official YouTube channel, on several occasions and other social media platforms delivering heartwarming speeches. He is also one of the regular speakers at the Satsang Hall in Prashanthi Nilayam. A very warm welcome to you, Shri Prem Anosh, and over to you. Sai Ram. Very welcome.
Sai Ram. Sai Ram to all of you. I offer my most loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I pray to Swami that he gives us all the understanding that it is Swami who speaks and it is Swami who listens through each one of us. Elders, brothers and sisters, and especially children, a very warm Sai Ram to all of you and greetings on this beautiful occasion of Easwaramma Day. Though my talk is not going to be about Mother Easwaramma per se, I thought it would be quite appropriate to begin with a few thoughts about Mother Easwaramma. It's very easy to say that Mother Easwaramma was a very blessed person. She must have been some sort of deity who has come down with this blessing. I don't completely disagree with that or dismiss that. But one problem I have with looking upon Mother Easwaramma that way is we probably will miss the message that she was giving to us through her life. Whenever I reflect upon what she stands for, I am reminded of this contrast in her life, the moment when Bhagwan declared his avatarhood, and this very day in 1972, what happened? It happens to be exactly 50 years ago that Mother Easwaramma merged in the feet of Swami. Her journey with Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba after his declaration began when Swami looked at her and Swami said, "I don't belong to you and you cannot bind me." That's not something that any of us would like to hear from Swami, and least of all, the mother of Bhagwan would have wanted to hear that from him. He said, "I don't belong to you, you cannot bind me, and however great you may be, you cannot bind me. You might be a person of high office, you might be a minister, a king, or whatever it is, or you could be the mother, you cannot bind me." And having said that, 1972, on the 6th of May, Swami has described that scene many times in his discourses. Mother Easwaramma had her morning coffee and she was sitting down, absolutely hale and healthy. And she knew that her last moments had come, and she called out to Swami. And literally in a whisper, she just said, "Swami, Swami." And Swami was not in earshot, right? Swami would say that he was upstairs in his room. And the moment Mother Easwaramma said, "Swami, Swami," from there, Swami said, I'm coming. And if you read today's Science Inspires message, in that discourse, Swami says that that call was like that of Gajendra and Lord Vishnu rushing to the rescue of this elephant. From being told that "I don't belong to you, you cannot bind me," she came to a point where she actually bound Swami, didn't she? She bound him by a call. She could just call and he said, "I'm coming." So what did she do with her life in that period that allowed her to bind the same Swami who said, "You cannot bind me"? I think the simple message there is, or at least as I see it, come to me with any worldly relationship. Come to me as a mother, a father, or you could be anything. You cannot bind me. I will not be bound to you. Come to me with love. Come to me with devotion, and I am yours. I think that was the message that Swami was giving us through the life of Mother Easwaramma. What is it that we can do? Like when we look at all our lives, I think all of us do also have come to Swami through some worldly relationship. Most of you children must have come because your parents were devotees. So that's a worldly relationship, isn't it? Or some of us, like me, Swami was the chancellor of the college I studied in, right? That's again a worldly relationship. There are so many devotees who came here because they were posted as officers in nearby towns and cities, and they just got curious and came. You could come in any capacity, and Swami doesn't belong to you. But when you come to Swami as a devotee, as somebody who wishes to surrender, who wishes to have love for Swami, he's all yours. And it would only take a call for him to rush to you when you want it. Today is a very beautiful day. We also celebrate it as the Mother's Day, as some of the children beautifully mentioned it. As part of a program that I do on radio, a 10-year-old girl once asked me one very interesting and thought-provoking question. I thought I'll start my sharing today with that. A very interesting, a crisp, beautiful question. She said, every night when I go to sleep, I hug my mother tight and go to sleep because I love her more than anyone else in this world. And I don't find anybody more loving to me than her. So I love her so much. But my mother tells me that Swami has the love of 1,000 mothers. If that is so, why is it that I don't feel love for Swami the way I feel love for my mother? How do I experience that love of Swami, given that I've not seen Swami ever? I thought it's a very, very beautiful question, and I'm sure quite a few of you also would have had that doubt in your mind, and I do hope in the next few minutes we can address that. I'm not going to tell you everything that I told that child, but I'll start with something that I really did tell her, a little bit of that. Why do we really feel so much love for our mothers? Why is it that it is so spontaneous to have love and to be affectionate and to be drawn to our mothers? On another occasion, I also happened to have be a host of a children's program on radio for a few months, maybe a year or so. And in the course of that program, I used to have these very interesting conversations with little children. And I think I had a conversation with a small child from Germany. And I asked her this question, who's your favorite person in the whole world? And she said, of course, it's my mother. And I asked her, why is it that you like your mother? And she had the most interesting and the sweet answer to give. She said, because my mother makes my favorite penne pasta. She said, that's why I like my mother. And that's how simply true it is. Because whatever we want in life, whatever we need in life, it comes to us through our mothers, right? For a long period in our life, in our early life, we depend so much on our mothers, and we see the love coming to us through them in limitless measure. And that's why it's so easy to have that sort of love for our mothers. So I told this little child who asked me that question, I said, see, day in and day out, you see that your mother loves you, your mother cares for you, whatever you need is taken care of by your mother. But do you know that there was a time when you were much younger and you were much, much more dependent on your mother? Your mother was giving you much, much more care, but probably you didn't know about that. Maybe when you were a few months old, your mother could not leave you alone even for a day. A day is a long time, even for a few hours. And you couldn't do anything without your mother, and she was taking care of you all the time. And if I were to take you back even further, when you were in your mother's womb, can you imagine being carried around without being put down even for a moment for 9 full months? That's how much each one of our mothers have taken care of us, right? And everything that we needed, be it food, be it warmth, be it our immunity, everything came from our mother. But probably, I don't think we felt the same kind of love towards her. And the reason is, we were not aware that we were receiving so much love from our mothers, right? And if you could ever go to a fetus, and if the fetus could speak, if you were to ask, where is your mother? And if that child in the womb was aware of the mother and its state in the womb, what would the answer the fetus would give? My mother is above me, below me, before me, behind me, and all around me. And that sounds familiar, doesn't it? That's exactly what Swami says. I am before you, I am behind you, I am above you, I am below you, I am all around you. But we don't see that, because the relationship right now we have with our Divine Mother, our beloved Swami, is like a child in the womb, where we are constantly receiving love and care, but we are not aware of that love and care coming from Swami. And because of that, probably we are not able to love him back the same way. For each one of us, this relationship with Swami is like that, is so intense, is so direct. I am reminded of a very beautiful episode that one of the students of Swami's Anantapur College once shared. A very sweet incident. Swami had called their family for an interview. This was when she was much younger. So the family had, I think, 4 members: the mother, father, the son, who was probably 10 or 12-year-old, and this daughter, who was maybe much younger than that. So Swami was talking to everybody in the family, and all of a sudden Swami looked at this boy, and Swami asked him, who is this? And Swami pointed to the mother of that boy. The boy was a little startled. He looked at Swami and said, Swami, she's my mother. Then Swami asked, who is she to him? Pointing to the father. The boy said, Swami, she is his wife. And then Swami asked, who is she to your grandfather? And the boy said, Swami, she is the daughter-in-law. And then Swami asked her, who is she to your wife? So this was a 10 or 12-year-old boy, so he started blushing. And then Swami completed the answer. Swami said, she is going to be a mother-in-law to your wife. And then came the beautiful answer, that beautiful message that Swami wanted to give. Swami said, but look at me. I am your mother. I am your mother's mother. I am your father's mother. I am even a mother to your grandfather. And when you get married, I will be a mother to your wife too. One person that is your mother is a mother to somebody, a daughter-in-law to somebody, a wife to somebody, a friend to somebody else. But here I am a mother to you, I am a mother to your father, to your grandfather, and I'm a mother to everyone. And Swami went on to say in his typical style, he said, because I am not mother-in-law, I am mother-in-love. And my love transcends all law, because I have the love of 1,000 mothers. The question remains, how do we experience that love of 1,000 mothers? I'm reminded of another beautiful episode that happened way back in the year 1961. You all must be aware of the journal that is sent out from Prashanti Nilayam that was started by Swami. Swami used to write articles to that journal. The journal's name is Sanatan Sarthi. The articles that Swami wrote in that book has what has become the Vahinis, the Ramakatha Rasvahini, the Gita Vahini, Vidya Vahini, the Prema Vahini, and all of that. So that particular month, I think the month of October in the year 1961, before publishing the Sanatan Sarthi, Professor Kasturi, the editor of the magazine then, brought it to Swami, and he wanted to have Swami take a final look at it before it goes for printing. So since it was the month of October, the Dashera festival is around the corner, so he had put a picture of Mother Durga on the cover of the magazine, and under that picture he had written the words Durga Mata, right? And beside that he had put a picture of Swami, and he had written under it Satya Sai Mata, right? Durga Mata and Satya Sai Mata, and probably he must have congratulated himself for having come up with the idea of doing that. But Swami looked at that picture of his, and Swami looked at what was written under it, and Swami said, change this. Don't have it as Satya Sai Mata. Swami said, have it as Satya Mata. Don't write Satya Sai Mata, write Satya Mata. And then Swami explained, because this alone is Satya Mata. Everything else is only Mithya Mata. This alone is the true mother, pointing to himself. He said, this alone is the true mother. Everyone else is only Mithya Mata. This word Mithya is a very interesting word. I, of course, will not bore you too much with that. It's a word which you would find it occurring quite often in philosophical literature, in Sanatan Dharma, in the Upanishads, and so on. But just indulge me for a few minutes, because it's a very interesting word, and there's a reason why we need to take a look at that. The word Satya, as all of us are pretty much aware of, means truth. The antonym for truth in Sanskrit is asatya, right? Satya, asatya, truth, untruth. But this word mithya is very interesting. It also means untruth, but they've probably coined another word for this, because mithya is something that is untrue, but it looks so true that you cannot dismiss it as untrue. It needs much, much more effort. An example that I could probably give you is, let's say you're lying on your bed and you look out of the window and you find a figure standing there. The moment you see that, you're scared, right? And when you're scared, what happens? You start sweating, you start palpitating, probably your BP goes up. And then when you go closer to the window, you look at it and you find it's just the shadow of the tree outside. The moment you see that, and you're calm again. It was always the shadow of the tree. But when you thought that it was a figure standing outside of your window, the reaction that you had to it was real, right? You really were sweating. You really were, your heart was racing for real. So what was untrue was creating a very true emotion in you. And that's what is mithya all about. The moment you start looking at it more keenly, like how you did of going up to the window and looking at it, and then the moment you see what it is, it vanishes and the truth becomes obvious to you. And when Swami says that in this world everything is mithya and I am Satya, this is Satya Mata, everything else is Mithya Mata. The love that we receive through our mothers, through our parents, through our family, through our siblings, through our friends, they all create in us this emotion that, oh, this is a loving person, or this is somebody who's who's concerned about me. And that creates emotions that are real, that creates love in our heart that is real. But the truth is, when we examine any of these relationships, at some point we will realize that what stands behind each of these person is Swami, and it is only Swami's love that comes to us through each one of these entities in our lives. The more we begin to see this truth, the more we recognize this truth, the world with these many relationships that you see will all start peeling away, and you will start seeing Swami's love constantly. And you will see that everything that happens to you, everything that you receive, the good things that happen, the pleasant things that happen, it is all coming to you only from Swami. The instruments might be different, just like how there is a child in the mother's womb. The food and nourishment reaches the child through the umbilical cord, right? But the umbilical cord is only the conduit through which the mother's love reaches, the mother's nourishment reaches the child. In the same way, every other relationship around, including our physical mothers who shower so much love on us, are doing nothing but showering Swami's love to us. And the more we recognize this, it is like looking at the shadow outside the window. And the more you look at it, you will realize that it's only the shadow, and you will see the truth. And similarly, you'll see Satya Mata standing behind what is the Mithya world. So how do we do that? Is there something that we can do? I, of course, cannot be absolutely comprehensive as to how we can build a relationship with Swami. But the essence of an avatar, why does the Lord come down in a human form? Why does he come down in the form of Satya Sai Baba, in the form of Lord Krishna, in the form of the many divine beings that have graced earth? And we all are so very fortunate to have Swami come to us in this form. It is to remind us that he is the one who stands behind this veil of Mithya, right? And the moment you recognize, the moment you start holding on to that truth, the more and more you will start feeling that it is Swami's love all around you, right? So whenever we share stories of Swami said this to this person, Swami did this for this child, Swami spoke like this to this student, I think it is quite natural to feel that, oh, it didn't happen to me, or, what is the point? I cannot experience the same thing now. I think it's important to keep in mind that the episode might have been for that individual, but the lesson and the message is eternal, and it is for all of us, right? So the stories I'm going to narrate today, it didn't happen to me as much as it didn't happen to you, but it applies to you as much as it applies to me and anyone else, right? Because it's the same Swami. The individual in front of Swami might be different, but the Swami is the same. The Swami whom we are trying to love and trying to bind with our love, and the Swami to whom we are trying to get bound with our love is the same. So what is the first thing that you can do? What is the first thing you can do to ensure that you feel Swami's love? First and foremost, whether you see it or not, constantly keep reminding yourself that it is Swami's love that is coming to you through everyone. One of my lecturers once narrated this very small episode, but again with a very profound message. Swami was not talking to him for a few days, and it would happen quite often, when you're Swami students, sometimes Swami speaks, sometimes Swami doesn't speak. So this boy was feeling a little sad about that, and he was wondering, what did he do that Swami is upset with him? And you start fearing that, oh, now Swami is distancing himself from me. Maybe he's never going to come and speak to me. So you'll be flooded with all these kind of thoughts. So he was wondering, what is it that he has done that Swami is upset with him? A few days went by, I think maybe even a few weeks. One day Swami comes up to him, and he was sitting for darshan. Swami looks at him, and Swami says, "Hey, come here." So the boy goes up to Swami, and Swami asks him a very simple question. Swami asks him, what is the distance between here and there? Pointing to where Swami was sitting or standing, I'm not too sure, and where this boy was standing. Swami said, what is the distance between here and there? So this boy looked at the distance, and he said, Swami, maybe 3 feet. And Swami said, 3 feet? He thought maybe he got it wrong. He said, Swami, maybe 4 feet. And Swami said, what is the distance between there to here? Swami asked, pointing to where he was standing and to where Swami was sitting or standing. And he said, Swami, it must be the same 3 feet. Swami said, Yes. So then Swami said, the distance between me and you is the same as the distance between you and me. It seems like a very simple, logical thing, isn't it? But the message that Swami was giving was so important. Swami said the distance between you and me is the same as the distance between me and you. And then Swami said, if you think Swami is far, Swami is far. If you think Swami is close, Swami is close. So much depends on how we believe, right? The truth is, Swami is all around us because we are like children in the womb of Mother Sai. Swami is above us, below us, all around us. But the more we believe it, that's how close Swami is. So it is very, very important to reinforce this. The other day, I was listening to a talk by one of the sisters from the Anantapur campus who shared this very beautiful and very little episode. For some reason, when she was studying in the Anantapur college, she could not go to Puttaparthi for Diwali, right? The festival of Diwali was around the corner, and she and a few students could not make it to Puttaparthi. All the other students and teachers were invited by Swami. They usually would come during every festival, and so they had come to Parthi. So she was very, very sad that she could not make it to Parthi for Swami's darshan. So that night, Swami comes in a dream. And then Swami looks at her and Swami says, hey, why are you so sad? Why are you having a long face and why are you so sad? So she said, Swami, what do you expect? Here I am, Diwali is around the corner, and I am neither near my parents. I could have been with my parents and celebrated the festival with them, nor am I in Puttaparthi. It's like you've left me right in between. I'm not with my parents. I'm not with Mother Sai. And then Swami tells her in the dream, he said, yes, you're not with your parents. I agree with that. But how can you say that you're not with me? How can you say that you're far from me? Look at me. I'm right here in front of you. Am I not? Am I not just beside you? How can you say that I'm far? Then Swami said, never ever entertain this habit, because I am not some Sai Baba who is sitting in Puttaparthi. That's not me. That's not me alone, right? Don't confine me to that form. And Swami said, the first and foremost important thing for every devotee is, with this feeling that Swami is near, you should never ever give place for any sadness in your mind. That is the first and most important trait of a devotee, right? So that is the first important point, that we may not be able to sense Swami's love right now, but it is very important to believe that yes, Swami, you are near me. Swami, you are close to me. The second important point is, as I said, it is Swami's love that comes to us through our mothers, through our fathers, through our siblings, through our friends. Just like how Swami's love can come to us through these people, the love that we want to shower to Swami can also be sent to Swami through these people. And it's very, very important we do that, right? Just like how we receive Swami's love from our parents, if we wish to love Swami, the first and foremost important thing to do is to love our parents, right? I'm reminded of another beautiful episode that happened to three students. There were three brothers who were from Sri Lanka, who were studying in Swami's college, but were from Sri Lanka. One day, Swami, I think it was a morning darshan, Swami had finished darshan, Swami had taken taken some devotees for interviews. Interviews were over. Swami attended bhajans. So it was after all of this, Swami was simply walking around, still interacting with the students. And Swami looked at one of the brothers. And Swami said, hey, where are your other brothers? So he looked around and he said, Swami, they are here. And Swami said, all three of you, go inside the interview room. So they all filed into the interview room. And Swami went up to them. And Swami asked them, when was the last time you wrote a letter to your mother? Right? That's the straight question Swami asked them. And they looked at each other and said, Swami, maybe a few weeks ago. And Swami was a little upset. Swami said, few weeks? Do you know it's been 3 months since you wrote a letter home. And they said, maybe Swami, we probably got it wrong. And then Swami said, do you know how I know? Do you know how I know that you have not written letters home for 3 months? Swami said, right now, your mother is sitting at her altar in front of my picture and crying. And what is she saying? She said, Swami, as a mother, I knew that the best thing I could do for my children is send them to you. And that's the best, that as a mother, I know that I have to send them to God and I've sent them to you. But having sent them to you, they've completely forgotten me. They don't even write letters to me. And she said, Swami, what do I do? My children don't think of me, and Swami also doesn't think of me. Then what is my lot? Right? Saying so, as a mother, she was shedding tears. And Swami said, sitting there, she's crying. And Swami said, this is not right. And Swami told them that, it was doing towards the end of the morning darshan, so they were all going to go back to the hostel after that. Swami told them, I want all of you to go out, sit in the mandir, write a letter to your mother. Only after posting it, you will go back to the hostel. And then Swami said, after this, every week you have to write a letter to your mother. And if I find out that you have not done so, I will send all of you back to Sri Lanka to your home. I will not keep you in my college. What a beautiful experience for the children. The message for the children is, you cannot love Swami if you're not able to show love to the people around you who are giving you all this love and care. Swami would often say this even to us when we were students. How can you love Swami, whose love is subtle and invisible, if you cannot love and if you cannot reciprocate the love of your parents, which is so obvious and clear to you? Right? So Swami would say that don't ever think that you can love me in this manner. So for all of us, we would look at Swami, we would say, oh, Mother Sai. Every letter that we would write to Swami, we would address Swami as Mother Sai or Sai Ma. For us, Swami was mother in front of us, right? We didn't have to imagine that. In all means, as students, Swami allowed us to relate to him like that. But even so, Swami would not spare us the idea that you should show gratitude and love to your physical parents who have given you everything. As Swami would say in his typical style, you say, Fuddu, Duddu, Heddu, Blooddu. Swami would say, they are the ones who have provided you with food, with the education that you have, the blood that runs in your body, you owe it to them, right? So the most important thing, right? So that episode I was telling you, the message to the children is, you cannot not express love and gratitude to your parents. The message to that mother is, you can sit in your home in Sri Lanka, sit in front of a picture and cry out, and it reaches me, isn't it? Isn't that a beautiful affirmation and acknowledgement Swami was giving even to that mother? And when these letters reached her, you could have imagined her thrill and her the reinforcement for her faith that she would have received through this episode. So that is the second point, that you can love Swami and you should love Swami through the people around you. And that is why Swami says, love all, serve all. When you're anybody you're serving me. That is the ultimate idea that we all have to practice. The third point that I would like to talk about is, find ways in your own life to make Swami a part of your life, right? There are any number of things that you can do. As students, Swami would often encourage us to develop such a love with him, right? I remember one of my talking about Swami acknowledging the prayers that you make to him. There was this lecturer of mine, he was narrating how he came to Swami as a little boy, and he had lost his mother very young, right? So this boy had developed this habit of sitting in front of the altar and talking to Swami. And there is nothing that you can and you cannot talk to Swami, right? Because he is your Swami, and everything that's happening in your life, you go and share it with him. So it so happened that he was once sitting in his altar and he was talking to Swami, and that very time, his father was in Prashanti Nilayam. He had come for Swami's darshan, and Swami had called him for an interview. And sitting in that interview room, Swami was telling the father all the prayer that that boy was making in the altar in his house. So this boy was apparently going for a cricket match that day, and he was probably scared of one of the fast bowlers that he was going to face. So he was telling Swami all about that. Swami, it's a very important match, and our team is doing so well. This is a match we must win. And there is this fast bowler who is very good. I'm very scared of him. So this little boy, who probably would have been 8 or 10 or 12-year-old, was telling Swami about this most important event in his life, which was a cricket match that he was going to play later in the day. And here in Parthi, Swami was relaying that prayer to his father and saying that, you know what, your little boy is sitting and praying like this. We all have events like that in our life, don't we? Use every opportunity that it comes by your way to strike this relationship with Swami. Go and tell him everything, that you're scared of an exam that's coming. Go and tell him you have a fight with your friend in your school. Tell him, Swami, you know what, this is what happened. The same student who was my lecturer many years later, he was narrating how he eventually became a student of Swami's college. And one day Swami comes up to him and Swami says, so many of the students give me letters. Why is it that you never write letters to me? Right? This Swami who's available, we could talk to him. But Swami was coming and asking, why is it that you never write letters to me? So this teacher said, Swami, I never find the need to write letters to you, because as you grow older, you think all these spiritual ideas of Swami is omniscient. Swami knows everything. Is there anything I need to go and tell Swami? And all those kind of thoughts. So he said, Swami, I don't find the need to write anything to you, because Swami knows everything and there is nothing that I can write. And Swami looks at this boy and Swami says, see, if your mother was alive, if your mother was there in your house, wouldn't you write letters to her saying that, mother, this is what happened today? Or, mother, I don't like the food in the hostel. Or, I won this prize in this competition in the hostel. Swami said, why don't you write letters to me like that? This was Swami himself coming and saying, why don't you write letters to me like you would write letters to your mother? Sometimes, to build this relationship with Swami, just keep aside your wisdom, right? Keep aside this idea that Swami knows everything. Oh, my life is too small to bother Swami with that. No, he is your Swami. And what is important to you is important to him, right? And that is the best way to build this relationship with Swami. And everything that goes on in your life, everything that goes on in your school, what you're worried about, what you're scared about, the small joys that you have in life, go and share it with Swami. Just like how you would share it with your friend, just like how you would share it with your mother. There was this student of Swami who was working in the super specialty hospital. One day Swami was going out for a drive in his car, as he would often do during the mornings. And Swami noticed that this student was riding a bike and going to the hospital, because he was going to the hospital for work and Swami was going on a drive. And Swami happened to see this boy riding a bike, riding his motorbike and going to the hospital. And that evening or the next day, Swami comes up to this boy and Swami says, hey, whose motorbike were you riding? Right? Because Swami was always very particular about borrowing things from others. So Swami comes up to him and says, hey, whose motorbike were you riding? And this boy said, Swami, it was my motorbike. I'm riding my own motorbike. And the moment he said that, Swami's face, it shrunk and Swami became very sad, or so it appeared. He said, your motorbike? You never told me that you bought a motorbike. And this boy, on one hand, he was protesting in his mind, Swami, it's such a small thing. Why would I come and tell you? On the other hand, the guilt, right? That here was Swami as a mother, for a youngster, buying a vehicle, buying a motorbike, buying even a bicycle is such a big thing. And Swami said, why didn't you come and tell me that, Swami, I'm going to buy a bike, or Swami, I've bought a bike? The pain in Swami's face was that of a mother or that of a friend who's been distanced, right? Why do we really want to distance Swami in that manner? Let us make him a part of our life. Every happy thing, let us tell him. We're talking about happy things. There was this beautiful episode that one of my classmates narrated about his sister who was studying in the primary school. It so happened that one particular day she had maybe played a little more than she would have. The schedule in our hostels is we wake up in the morning, we have the Suprabhatam and the prayer and all of that, and we probably have you can have some tea or ragi in the morning. Then we go out for our games, for our jogging and all of that, and we would come back, have a bath, and then come for breakfast. So sometimes if you've had a very exerting time in the ground, you come back really hungry, waiting for the breakfast. And that was a day like that for this little girl. She came back, had a bath, and she was waiting for the breakfast bell to go because she was extremely hungry. She was like, "Oh, Swami, when was the bell going to go? I want to go and have my breakfast." So the bell was given. She rushes to the dining hall, hoping to eat her breakfast. And what did she find? They were serving noodles for breakfast. And it so happened that this little girl hated noodles. She never ate noodles. And she said, "Oh, Swami, this is so unfair. I am so hungry today, and should it be noodles today?" A little girl, and when you're so hungry, you so angry, right? So she ran away from the dining hall without eating food, and she locked herself in the bathroom, and she burst into tears. She said, "Swami, this is so unfair. I was so hungry today, and how will I go and eat this breakfast?" And she was upset, and she was angry, and she was crying. And in that irritation, she just said, "You really want me to go and eat this breakfast? You come and eat it yourself." He said, "Come and eat this breakfast, and then I'll eat." Not that she made a prayer, it was almost her anger just bursting out as frustration like that. The moment she said that, she hears a lot of footfall, right? There were times when Swami would suddenly come to the hostel, and the only way we would know that Swami has come is it would be like a mini earthquake. The whole building would shake with children running from one end of the corridor to the other. So she heard this footfall and she realized that something's happening, must be Swami has come. She comes out, and that's exactly what was happening. Swami had come into the hostel and Swami was at the lobby. So this girl also quickly runs. And you can imagine that scene in the primary school. Swami was standing at the lobby, a few hundred children all gathered around. And Swami looks at all of them and Swami says, what are you all doing? Are you all getting ready for school? And Swami looks at one of the teachers and Swami said, has the breakfast been served? And the teacher said, "Yes, Swami, we're serving the breakfast." And then Swami asked, "What is there for breakfast today?" And when Swami asked this question, this girl is now, "Oh God, what is happening here?" So then the teacher said, "Swami, today we have noodles." And Swami said, "Noodles? Purugula," Swami said. No, that's how Swami would call noodles. Purugulu means worms. "Oh, you're serving worms for breakfast today." And then Swami said, "Oh, noodles. Okay, get some noodles. Let me see how it tastes." And when Swami says that, this girl is even more tensed. This is exactly what she was thinking. So they bring a little quantity of noodles for Swami in a plate. And we all know that it's not that Swami always eats noodles. Swami takes 1 spoon of that noodles and eats a little. And then Swami looks, there are 200, 300 children in that gathering. Swami looks around and looks directly at this girl. And Swami said, "Now you all go and eat your breakfast." Anything that troubles you, anything that you're happy about, anything that you're worried about, share anything and everything with Swami, and that is the best way he becomes close to you, right? Anything that you want, any breakfast that you want, turn to Swami, right? That's another thing that Swami taught all of us. He said, anything that you need, you ask me, you pray to me. It may come to you through anybody else, right? The whatever we have got from our parents, they have been conduits, they've been instruments through whom Swami has given us whatever that is, right? So whatever you need, you seek from Swami. when we talk about whatever we need, I'll try to wind up in a few minutes, talking about receiving whatever we need from Swami. When we talk about a relationship with Swami like our mother, if we are celebrating today as Mother's Day, or we observed Mother's Day, I think a couple of days later also is celebrated as International Mother's Day. We also want to gift something to Swami, isn't it? That's another way we build relationship with people in the world. We want to gift something. We want to express our love through gifting. What is it that you can gift Swami? There was this beautiful episode narrated by one devotee who was sitting in the portico and who had witnessed this sight. One day, Swami was walking around in the portico, and Swami came up to one devotee who was seated there, and Swami asked him, "What can you give me?" Right? Swami walked up to him, and I think in Hindi he must have said, "Tum mujhe kya de sakta hai?" So he said, "What can you give me?" And those of you who know Swami, it is extremely difficult to give anything to Swami. Even the smallest of object, it is so difficult to offer anything to Swami, because Swami will not accept anything. It's very, very difficult, right? I'm not going into the details of that. So when Swami asked, "What can you give me?" this devotee was so excited that, oh, Swami is asking for something. So he got up and said, "Swami, I don't know if the children of these days will understand checkbooks and all of that." This devotee said, "Swami, I will give you a blank check." Right? A blank check is a bank note in which you can put as much money as you want, and the bank will have to give you that if it is available in that person's bank account. So he said, "Swami, I will give you a blank check. You can take as much as you want." And Swami said, "Blank check?" So he said, "Sit down." And Swami went up to another student who was sitting beside this devotee, and Swami said, "What can you give me? What will you give me?" And this boy got up and he said, "Swami, this life is for you. This entire life is for you." Swami nodded, but Swami didn't seem too pleased. Swami said, "Okay, sit down." And Swami walked up to where the primary school children were seated, and Swami pulled up one boy, and Swami asked him, "What can you give me?" And this boy had a blank expression on his face, and he stared at Swami like that. And Swami said, "Tell, what can you give me? What will you give me?" And this boy kept on looking at Swami without having to tell anything. And Swami kept repeating that question, "Tell me, what will you give me? What will you give me?" And then Swami said, "Hey, this is not done." And Swami also threatened him, "I'm going to give you a tight slap. Tell me, what will you give me?" This boy kept looking at Swami without uttering a word. And then Swami said, "See, if you do not tell me now, if you do not answer me, I will never speak to you again. I will never ask you anything again." He said, "Tell me, what will you give me?" And finally, this boy opened up and he said, "Swami, what can I give you?" He said, "Swami, my teachers tell me that everything in this world belongs to you. You own this whole world, this whole cosmos, everything. What can I give you? What is there in this which is mine, which I can give you?" He said, "Everything is yours, Swami. You can take anything that you want. There is nothing that belongs to me I can give you." Swami patted that boy and Swami said, "See, this is the right answer." Swami said, "This is the right answer." So what can you give? If you really want to build a relationship with Swami, what can you give? There are many mothers, I hope, are listening to this talk. And if you were to go and ask them, what is the greatest gift that you can give them? When we were children, what is the gift we used to give our mother? We used to go to our parents and we used to take money from them in the name of pocket money or something. And from that, we used to buy something and give it to them, right? That's like you're gifting back to them what is already theirs. In temples, they have this practice of doing this particular worship where you go into the river, and when you're chanting mantras, you take water from the river and you pour it back into the river. They do that to remind you that whatever you offer to God is this, that you only take from him, take what is his and you offer it back to him. So what really can you offer to Swami? What can I give Swami? So if you were to ask your mothers what is the best gift that you can give them, I'm sure they will tell you obedience is the best gift that you can give your mother. Obedience is the best gift you can give your parents. To give value to their words, to their feelings, is the greatest gift that we can give them. If we really want to give something to Swami, it is only this: to give value to his words and in some small way make it a part of our lives. It is not going to be easy, but those little efforts that you do, you say, Swami, this I'm doing for you. Swami, I wouldn't have done this for anybody. I wouldn't have woken up early. I wouldn't have gone every Sunday for this class. I wouldn't have attended bhajans very regularly. It is very difficult, but I'm doing this for you because I feel that this is what will please you, right? I'm going to conclude with a very beautiful poem. Most of you might know the name of this poet, Jalaluddin Rumi, right? He's supposed to be a Sufi philosopher. He writes this beautiful poem. I think that is the essence of how we can build this relationship with Swami. He writes in this poem, you have no idea how hard I have looked for a gift to bring you. Nothing seemed right. What's the point of bringing gold to the gold mine or water to the ocean? Everything I came up with was like taking spices to the Orient. It's no good giving my heart and my soul because you already have these. So I've brought you a mirror. Look at yourself and remember me. When we pledge our obedience to Swami, when we lead our life in accordance to Swami's message, what we are actually doing is we are becoming Swami-like. Right? That is the idea of taking a mirror to Swami, isn't it? That when we stand in front of Swami, we should stand in front of him as a mirror of him. The same selfless love, the same kindness, the same compassion. The best gift that we can give this mother is nothing but turning ourselves into mirrors that will reflect who he is, isn't it? So with that thought, I most humbly offer this effort at Bhagwan's lotus feet, and I thank you all for this very patient listening, for this opportunity to connect with all of you. And once again, my best wishes to each one of you on this beautiful occasion of Easwaramma Day.
Thank you so much for such a gentle, loving discourse, but full of profound messages hidden here and there. It was almost like a fun-filled treasure hunt for children, I think. We could certainly listen to you for much, much longer. But now I would like to invite some of our children who are eagerly waiting to ask a few questions from you. And it would be lovely if you could address them briefly. First up, we have Shri Kamadar.
Saram Uncle, my name is Yashvi and I'm 14 years old. The question that I would like to ask today is how to have a balanced life with so much on our plates like studies, social media, sports and music activities.
Saram, Yashvi, thank you for that question. I hope we all know the answer to that, right? I don't know whether there is a simple answer to that. Is there a one-stop solution to that? But I think the more you give importance to certain things in your life, right? That is what we refer to as prioritizing. The problem is we need to balance our life between what is important and what is leisure, right? If you're able to list down all these things that you want to balance in between, and if you can find out what is it that you do for leisure, what is it that you do for relaxing, what is it that you do for just chilling out, and what do you think is really important, and then give importance to what is important, right? Something that is done for leisure can be moved around, but something that is important, something that if it is not done today, you can never come back and get it done, right? So there are some things which are time bound, especially when you're a student. There are some things that have to be done right now. that are defined by deadlines that you have, exams that are around the corner. The more you give importance to that and then spacing it in between with these things that will calm your mind, that will help you relax. I think that is very important, that prioritizing is very important. And for that, right, that is why we turn to elders. I always say this, if you're walking down a road and if there is a pit, somebody ahead of you tells you, be careful, there's a pit there, be careful. That person might have been a person who has fallen in that pit, right? But nevertheless, his or her advice is good because it helps you not to do the same mistake again. So sometimes our parents are very good at giving us that advice, even if they have done the same mistake themselves, right? So it's very important, listen from them, prioritize what is important, and certainly don't give up some things that gives you a lot of leisure, calms your mind, makes you keep fresh. That is equally important, right? The thing about us in Swami's college is, just one point before I wind up, we studied very little in Swami's college, right? Many of the people don't know this. We studied very little. We spent a lot of time doing dramas, practicing for music, playing, but we studied when we studied. Swami would suddenly say, hey, exams are coming, all of you concentrate on studies, and we did that, right? So just giving importance to what is important and then giving space for what is giving you a little bit of joy is also important. I know it's not an answer that you can take and practice from tomorrow, but I hope you've found some tip at least.
Thank you so much, Sairam.
Sairam.
Thank you, Yashvi. Up next, we have Ayan Rai. Ayan, could you please unmute yourself and ask?
Sairam, uncle. My name is Ayan and I am 9 years old. My question for you is that I would really like to do meditation or silent sitting, but I find it hard to sit still for more than 5 minutes. Could you please give me some advice?
Sairam, and thank you for that beautiful question. I think I'm with you in that. I don't know if I can sit for more than 5 minutes and do meditation. So don't worry, you're not alone. There's something that I find easier to do than meditation. So I'll share that with you if it is useful to you. Because for me, if I sit for longer than a few minutes and close my eyes, I'll go to sleep, right? That's been my problem ever since I was a student in Swami's college. But I find it much, much more easier to meditate, so to say, when I'm just taking a walk in the garden or just taking an early morning walk, looking at the sunrise, right? Because that is also meditation. Meditation does not mean that you have to sit and close your eyes and think of something constantly. That is one form of meditation. The other form of meditation is just being silent. There was a small way that Swami taught, right? I'll share that with you. Maybe it's useful. I find that very useful. It's called listening meditation, right? So once Swami was sitting with some of the students in the garden, and Swami was talking about silence, right? So Swami told them, okay, all of you close your eyes and tell me what you hear. So they all closed their eyes and they said, Swami, we hear the chirping of birds. Swami said, good. Okay, listen a little more keenly and tell me what you hear. And they said, Swami, we can hear some insects in the far, a little further away from, just around us. And Swami said, okay, that's nice. Now listen even more keenly and tell me what you hear. And when they concentrated so much, they could hear the rumble of a truck which was going probably a couple of kilometers away in the highway. They said, Swami, we can hear a truck which is very, very far away. Then Swami said, now try to hear even beyond that. And when they tried to hear even beyond that, all these sounds which they were hearing actually was not heard to them anymore because they were trying to hear to the silence which was beyond all these little noises around, right? And when Swami was doing this, suddenly one of the devotees came and said, Swami, breakfast is ready, right? So there was this one student who was following Swami, whatever he was telling, and he was in a deep state of meditation and he just got up like that. He startled and got up. And Swami looked at him and said, "Hey, what happened? Why are you so startled?" And he said, "Swami, I was listening to the silence." And Swami said, yeah, right. That's what happens, right? So this is not meditation of sitting and trying to chant something. Just go out into the garden and don't try to listen to anything. Just listen, right? Just listen to all the sounds that come and try to listen a little ahead of that silence, ahead of that noise. And I find that very, very calming. And I think if you are like me, you're not able to sit and meditate and not fall asleep, this is a good thing. Just walk around, listen to all these birds chirping, look at a beautiful sunrise. You live in such a beautiful country, and I think you have enough beauty around you to look at all of that and say, as I was saying, look at all of that and say, "Swami, thank you so much. You've given us so much beauty. You've given us so much to enjoy." Be grateful to Swami whenever you see all of these beautiful things. There's nothing more meditative than that, isn't it? Thank you, Ayan, for that question.
Thank you so much for answering that. I think a lot of us would benefit from that answer. Next, I would like to invite sweet little Sahasra Ramasheshan. Sahasra, you're up next.
Okay. Yeah. What is it you want to ask? What that you want to ask? Ask.
Saram Sahasra, tell me, what do you want to know?
Do we have to listen to Amma? Did Swami listen to his mom all the time?
Do you have to listen to your mother all the time? Did Swami listen to his mother all the time? That's a good one.
That's a really good one, and that's a tough one, right? Okay, I will tell you one thing that Swami told us. At your age, you better listen to your mother all the time, because even Swami did, right? It was not till much later Swami refused to listen to his mother. So at your age, certainly all the time you have to listen to your mother. But one thing that Swami told us when we were students, when we come to Swami's college, Swami would give us a lot of disciplines to follow. I don't know how much she will be able to understand this, but if anybody else has this question, I think they'll be able to relate to it. So Swami used to teach us a lot of things, which was not something that we were used to. Swami would say, talk less. Swami would say, don't watch movies. Don't go out with your friends and stand in the road and spend time. Swami would say that you should lead a very dignified life, and I would like you to be like this. So one day Swami was telling all of us that sometimes when you go back home, your mother might come and tell you, "Why are you sitting here so dull? Why don't you go out and go, be with your friends? Why don't you go out for a movie?" Swami said, so you might think that what your mother is saying is actually contrary to what Swami has said. Swami told us, see, you should understand that even though your mother might be telling something that is wrong, according to you, she's telling that with the best interest of yours in her mind. Because in her understanding, she thinks that that is right for you. So Swami said you should acknowledge that, but very lovingly you should tell her, but mother, this is not what Swami expects us to do. So please don't force me. I think this is what Swami likes. Right? So Swami said both is important. Listen to Swami, but also acknowledge that whatever your mother says, sometimes it's unpleasant, sometimes it's not something that you want to do, but whatever she says, be absolutely sure that she thinks that that's the best thing for you. And you should be able to acknowledge that and accept that.
Okay, sir.
I don't think she liked the answer.
I think she's happy with the answer.
Did you get that right?
Question your mommy every now and then.
Thank you, Sahasra. That's a very sweet question.
Thank you so much for that. Now I'd like to invite Aarti Jeyashankar. She is a Group 3 SSC student. Over to you, Aarti.
Saram uncle, my name's Aarti Jeyashankar. I'm 12 years old, and my question is, growing up in the Sai fold, we are taught to love all and to try our best to not be negative or mean towards others. But sometimes at school we face people like bullies who treat us the opposite.
How do we go about this and make sure that everyone around us respecting and caring for each other? Thank you.
Saramati, thank you for that question. Yeah, that's a problem that all of us face, right? Be it in school or later, you will always find different kinds of people. And you will also find people going through their own problems, and that comes out as frustration, that comes out as bullying, that comes out of as not a very loving nature. The knowledge that Swami gives us, as you said, being in Swami's fold, there is a secret that Swami has let out to us even before we could discover it. Right? Great sages and saints will do meditation and penance for many, many years. And what do they find at the end of it? They find out that God is in everyone. Right? That's the secret they find out at the end of all of this effort. But Swami has come and revealed that secret to us. Swami said, I am in everyone. So one thing that we should probably try to do, right? It's difficult, it's not easy, is not love the person in front of us, but try and love the Swami in that person. Swami had given this very simple and beautiful analogy once. Swami said, imagine that you have a neighbor and you always have a fight with that neighbor. And you have a very bitter relationship with that neighbor, and every moment, every time you see that neighbor, your BP goes up, and it leaves you a very unpleasant feeling. So one day you are walking past that neighbor's house, and you happen to just peep in. If it's a person like that, every time you walk past that person, every time you walk past his house, it kind of irritates you, right? So Swami says one day you're walking past that neighbor's house, and you happen to peep inside the house, and you see a picture of Swami. It's still a picture of Swami. The house may be the person whom you don't like. But when you look at a picture of Swami, it's a picture of Swami. And the moment you see a picture of Swami, the emotion that you feel inside is different. Right? Swami says that is exactly what we have to try to do. That we may find different people coming to our life. Right? But when we try and see beyond their anger and their hatred, if we are able to see Swami, the way we will relate to that person, the way we will behave with that person will be very difficult. Sometimes, if you know that you are going to deal with a difficult person, right? Not always we have that idea. Sometimes you might know that, suppose your teacher tells you you'll have to do a project with this classmate of yours, and you know that you don't get along with that person well. At that time, before you start interacting with that person, make a prayer to Swami, that Swami, I find it very difficult to see you in this person. I'm going to work with this person. So I pray to you that allow me, enable me to see you in that person. And believe me when I say this, if you make a prayer like that, and if you approach a person like that, you will find that person's nature is different. Right? You will see that. You can actually experiment it with you. This is something that Swami has told us. Swami has told devotees. Swami said, if you do this, you will find that that other person also will respond to that love. Right? But having said that, having said all of this, let me also give you one thing very practical. Sometimes, if that person is very difficult and we do not have that maturity to deal with that person, it is not wrong to keep a respectful distance from that person. Right? Till you learn to deal with that person. It's again nothing to do with that person. It's an acknowledgement that Swami, I have not yet grown. That is why Swami says avoid bad company. Right? Sometimes if you feel that in interacting with that person, I am not a good person anymore, you need a little more space. There's nothing wrong in saying, Swami, I need a little more space, and keep away from that person respectfully. Don't develop hatred, but keep away respectfully. You can still love that person. As somebody told me, you see a snake on the road, you don't have to go and embrace it. Just not harming that snake is loving that snake. Right? Not always going and embracing a person and kissing a person is love. Sometimes just letting a person be is also love. So when Swami says love all, that love has different forms, but all through these experiences, our effort must be to look beyond that person in front of us and look at that Swami hidden in that person. Okay, did that make any sense, Aarti? Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Sarah.
That was lovely. Thank you so much. I think we have time for one final question. Ved Shah, Ved is a SSC Group 4 student. Ved, would you like to ask your question?
Saram, uncle. My name is Ved Shah and I'm 16 years old. My question to you is, as Swami is Dindwala and is aware of everything we need, but has also said, ask without hesitation from your Divine Mother. So is there any such thing as asking for too much or too little? Thank you.
Sairam Ved, thank you for that question. Very beautiful question. There are two things in this, right? Is it okay to ask Swami? And how much to ask? How much to ask? I don't know whether we all have that maturity and discrimination. I don't know. As I was saying, that sometimes we might ask too less than we should be asking. Swami might come and ask, why didn't you come and ask me? Why didn't you pray to me? Right? Why did you think that you could deal with it yourself? You could have reached out to me. But sometimes Swami would say that you should also know how much to ask. The first thing is, see, in this relationship with Swami, as I was saying, that we're trying to connect with Swami as a mother, as our parent, as a divine caregiver. Nothing is out of bounds. Everything that you want, you can go and ask Swami. Right? Who else will we ask? Swami would tell us it is better to ask from Swami than to ask from anybody else. So as long as you have the desire for anything, let that desire be directed towards Swami. And given that we don't have the maturity to know whether what we are asking is good for us or not, having asked Swami, let us also add the prayer, Swami, I want this, but I'm not too sure whether it's good for me. You can just tell Swami that, Swami, I think I need this, but you know better. Right? And we might as well ask for maturity to accept whatever Swami chooses for us. As somebody was telling the other day, let's say that you're running late for work and you're going to miss your bus. And you're praying to Swami, Swami, hold the bus for me, hold the bus for me. And you go there and you're 5 minutes late and the bus is still waiting there for you. You get in, you're very grateful to Swami. Right? Thank you, Swami. I prayed to you and I got the bus. Let's say you miss the bus. Right? You run there and you miss the bus. And you're saying, what is this? I prayed to Swami and Swami didn't hold the bus for me. Imagine the next day you get to know that the bus met with an accident, or you shouldn't have reached the place where you're going to be. Again, you will say, thank you, Swami, I didn't catch the bus. Right? So whether Swami answers the prayer or Swami doesn't answer the prayer, actually what we are seeking is that satisfaction that you feel at the end of it. Sometimes you feel the satisfaction having your prayer answered. Sometimes you feel the satisfaction, thank God Swami didn't answer my prayer. Right? So whatever you want, ask Swami. Let not anybody tell you, ask this, don't ask this. I always like to tell this, Swami is not a spiritual ATM. People have this feeling that only spiritual things you have to ask Swami. Say, no, Swami is your mother. Go and ask him anything and everything that you want. But believe that Swami will give what is best for you. Right? And with time, you will know that there is no need to ask. Why do you ask? Because every time he gives you what is best required for you. And that's why that analogy of a child in the womb is so very perfect. Does the child in the womb ever ask the mother, I'm feeling hungry, give me food? Right? The child gets everything that it needs at the perfect time. So the more and more we realize that, we will just find out that, oh, the only thing I need to do is just be grateful because I have nothing to ask. But that will come eventually, isn't it?
Thank you, Uncle. That was really insightful.
Thank you, Ved. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for so patiently answering these questions. And I'm sure each one of us, we will decode the meanings of the answers, over time and in our own ways. We would love for you to stay on and enjoy the rest of the program with us. But meanwhile, is there a final message you can share with perhaps our parents? Because parenting itself is a challenge at the moment, and just a few words of encouragement for the parents would be lovely.
I always find that something difficult to do. Who would want to listen to parenting advice from a bachelor? There is something that Swami had told in a discourse. It's just catchy the way Swami says some of these things. Swami said, the problem with parents these days is there is only love in parenting. Swami said there should be love, there should also be law. Swami said love and law, both are important in parenting. This is probably the problem that most of us, most of the parents find it difficult. Where does love become tough? The tough love, when is it necessary? How much can you give? Nowadays, what we give our children becomes an expression of our ability more than what they need, right? If I can afford it, they can have it. It's not about whether it's necessary, should we really give them that, right? So I'm not too sure, how do you get that discrimination? How do you get that buddhi to do the right thing? It is probably like tightrope walking. If somebody who's walking a tightrope asks you, how do I balance? And if I give you an answer, when you're tilting towards the left, tilt a little towards the right. When you're tilting towards the right, tilt a little towards the left. It's a perfectly correct answer, but perfectly useless, isn't it? It's useless. You can't do anything with that advice. But to do that balancing act, there are some things that you have to do which is not probably directly connected to that act itself. You have to have a certain mindset. You have to be calm. You should not have your mind racing and looking at the ground down. What will happen if I fall down? Will my insurance cover me? Right? So it needs a certain mindset when you go into that act. I think the mindset that Swami suggests for parenting is this complete belief that I am only an instrument. This is Swami's child who has been given to me, and I am supposed to care for this child. Right? Swami would often say this. One of my classmates, whose brother, I think, if I'm not wrong, was expecting a child, and something happened. There were some complications in the pregnancy, and finally, Swami blessed the child. Swami sent some prasadam, and the child was born ill and hearty. So they came to Parthi to express gratitude to Swami. And one thing Swami told them was, so now you know that I gave the child. Right? Swami said, now you know that I have given you the child. Remember this, that this is a property I have entrusted with you, and care for it with that belief. So I think as parents, to approach parenting with that wisdom, that this is Swami's child, this child has come through me, but it belongs to Swami. And whatever love is being given to the child is Swami's love coming through me. Whatever firmness is being given is also being given through me. And the final thought I would say is, I think a problem with most parents is parents go out of their way to become their children's friends, isn't it? I always say this, through life we will find many, many friends, but we will only have two parents. If even parents want to become friends, then where will we find parents? We have enough friends to fill our lives. Let not parents strive hard to become children's friends. Don't become you can become friendly as your child grows up. Your relation should become friendly. But remember, you are a mother, you're a father, you're a parent, you're not their friend. Right? I don't know whether that's something that's pleasant to hear, but I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. If I've said something beyond me, please forgive me.
That was lovely. Thank you for those words of wisdom. Like you said, we're all figuring out what to do, and we are doing our best, but hopefully with Swami's guidance, it'll all fall in place.
Right.
Thank you once again, and thank you to all the parents and all the children who participated. We are now almost drawing to a close for the evening. I now present to you a very humble musical tribute by our SSC children who glorify the principle of divine feminine energy to the fullest through their bhakti bhav. Please enjoy. Thank you, lovely children, for that heartfelt offering. And now for the concluding part of the program, I would like to extend a warm vote of thanks. Gratitude and our deepest respects to Mother Eswaramma for giving us our beloved Swami. Thank you, Swami, for being our Mata Pita Bandhu Sakha over many lifetimes, for choosing us to be part of your divine mission. In my official capacity of the education convener, I express my gratitude to Swami for allowing this opportunity to serve the education wing with love and devotion. I thank our Zone 3 Chair, Zone 3 Education Coordinator, the National Council of Psi Organization of New Zealand, especially our National President and Regional Presidents for their encouragement and for the endless support, and our tech team for beautifully synthesizing this satsang for us. A special heartfelt thanks to Shri Prem Anosh for donating his valuable time to us. We hope to see you here in person one day. And most importantly, thank you all parents and facilitators and children and the wider audience. Without your presence, none of this would be meaningful. Before I leave you to watch the upcoming slideshow of children and their moms from different science centers in silence, I part tonight leaving behind this thought. Our earthly journey starts with our birth mother, whose form varies every lifetime. Like in this lifetime, the Lord himself chose Mother Easwaramma to descend through as an avatar. So we will always be grateful to her for bearing that pain for humanity. But Swami has also said on several occasions that we have only one true mother and father, the divine itself. So mothers, we must remember that our children come through us. They do not belong to us, for they truly belong to the divine. A truth we must consciously visit often. So it helps us to let go of the attachment of the forms of our children, if we sincerely desire to merge with the source one day. Let us hope this Moh Akshay will bring us all true moksha, and it will happen in this lifetime itself. A very happy Mother's Day to my earthly mother and my sister, and to all the wonderful, radiant feminine energies out there. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalani Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute. I bow to the light in each one of you. Stay well, stay blessed, and stay happy. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Sai Ram.
मनस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भ्रम सागर तरणम मानस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय शिवाय नमः अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुण शिव Baba Omkaram, Baba Omkaram, Baba Om Namo Baba. Vanasya bhajane Guru Charanam, Dustar Bhava Sagar Taranam. भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय साईनाथ सद्गुरु जय जय गुरु महाराज गुरु जय जय साईनाथ सद्गुरु जय जय भानस भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम भजरे गुरु चरणम दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपदान्धवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरि अन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरि अन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।